Hello, test. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Is the mic working? Can you hear me? Okay. So my name is Chermaine. I am a clinical audiologist at Faith Hearing. And today I will be talking to you about what's new in the hearing care industry and the little things that we are doing to sort of tackle permanent hearing loss. So quick introduction about me. I'm actually a second generation audiologist. My family has been building hearing aid labs in Singapore for the past 20 years. We actually started out our first hearing aid lab at Tanglin Shopping Centre. Then after that, we progressed to Key Point, and after that to Delphi Orchard, and finally we moved up to the north at Serangoon there. So I personally have seen the evolution of hearing aids. So it started when I was very young. Back then, we actually had to program hearing aids with wires. And those wires were really fragile. Each time a wire broke, it cost us like about $60. So I remember last time, every time I broke a wire, I had to hide it from my mom. If my mom found it, she'll scold me. So, and right now we're in the era where Bluetooth hearing aids are very popular. Every single hearing aid you can find on the market right now actually has Bluetooth and can be linked up to the internet. So hearing aid technology has indeed progressed really fast. So I've actually traveled a lot, pretty much everywhere around Southeast Asia. I'm involved in the hearing care there. And the one thing that I have learned is that early intervention for hearing loss is actually quite crucial. Okay, so today I want to first talk about two things. The very first thing I want to talk about is how we as a hearing aid industry are trying to make hearing aids more mainstream. Okay, and I would like you to watch a short video.
From changing trends in jewelry to the fascinating history of a little-known subject, hearing aids. And at this Mayfair clinic, you can see historic relics like the chased silver ear trumpet of the 19th century, and more ingenious, what is probably the first example of an aid being molded to fit into the ear. A delicate shell that is strangely effective decoratively as well as for its main purpose. Today, although hearing aids are smaller and more efficient, the trend nevertheless is towards disguising them, as in the case of this Alice band hairpin. Statistics show that today approximately 1 woman in 10 doesn't hear as well as she should, and probably wouldn't wear a hearing aid on principle. Yet modern aids like these rhinestone earrings are often glamorous accessories that are fashionable as well as efficient. A new model that gives little or no indication of its real purpose. Of course, some models don't date, and this hearing aid cum walking stick made in 1910 might still be used today.
Okay, so that was a very short hearing aid advertisement that came out in the 1950s. Okay, so from the video, I'm pretty sure all of you can see us hearing aid engineers, we've been creating hearing aids with one main goal, which is to hide the hearing aids. That means making hearing aids smaller, more aesthetic, more portable. So it's not just the clientele now who wants small hearing aids. All this while, since hearing aids existed, everyone wanted small hearing aids. Okay, so let me show you the very first hearing aid that was created. So the very first hearing aid looked more like a trumpet. You see the lady over there? Yeah. So this trumpet was actually 1 meter long. So 1 meter long is about the length of an umbrella today. So can you imagine you carry an umbrella around? But that is your hearing aid. Okay, so naturally people tried to hide their hearing aids. So this chair you see there is actually a chair created for King John VI. This is a king who lived in Portugal. So very interesting about this king, he always sat on the chair, and when people came to visit him, the visitors were all told to kneel down, but never to talk to the king directly, but to talk directly into the armrest. Can you guess why? Yeah, so if you didn't know already, the hearing aids were hidden in the armrest. So naturally, if he wanted to talk to people, he couldn't move around. He had to say, come with me, let's sit on my chair, then you talk to me. Okay? And over time, people tried to make it even smaller. So we had this mini wearable ear trumpet. These ear trumpets at the bottom here, these were made out of brass. They were very, very heavy. So it was actually a bit painful to wear, and they also didn't work. Okay. And then moving on, the first electrical hearing aid actually came out in 1895. So this was more of a telephone rather than a hearing aid. This hearing aid was really big, that it had to be put on a table. You cannot carry it around. Can you guess how much was this hearing aid? Anyone make a guess?
The price.
The price.
1,000. In euros or in what?
This one was in USD, but guess in today's Singapore currency, how much it is? Higher.
10,000. 10,000.
A bit higher.
15,000.
A bit lower. Okay, it was about
20,000.
It was about, all of you are quite close. It's about $12,000 today.
It's the cost of the hearing aid.
It's the cost of the first electrical hearing aid to be produced. Okay, so after that, people complain about the size. So engineers tried to make it even smaller. So they created a smaller version, which they call the Acouphone, and it was 1.5 kilograms. Yeah, so imagine carrying 1.5 kilograms around just to hear. Okay. But over the 19th and 20th century, we started to develop the technology a lot faster. So you as can see, hearing aids got smaller and smaller and smaller until it became wearable. And these are the modern day hearing aids you see today. They are small, they are invisible, and the smallest one you can get is actually like the size of my fingernail. Yeah. It's barely visible, okay? So, but what if we lived in a world where we didn't have to hide our hearing aids? What if hearing aids were normal, like just wearing glasses? Because after all, if a person can't see, they have to wear glasses, right? If you can't hear, then you have to wear hearing aids. But why is it that it's so difficult for people to accept hearing aids? Okay? So there's something that the industry is doing, but let me just give you an example of something that has also become very mainstream that people have taken for granted. Okay? So closed captions. As you can see, I'm talking now, but my voice is actually showing up on the screen here. Okay? So these are called closed captions. Did you know that prior to the 1970s, closed captions were not available everywhere? You had to buy special television sets just to have written words under your TV. Okay? The first closed captions only came out in 1972. And this was actually a national television show. It's actually a cooking show by Julia Child. Not sure if you've heard of her. But that changed everything. Okay? But even so, closed captions didn't become a thing until until 2012. So it was only in 2012 the U.S. Communications Commission, they made it a legal requirement for all media content that goes through the internet, they must have closed captions. And it's due to this. Now when you turn on the TV, you're on your YouTube, you're on your Netflix, you can always find closed captions or subtitles. So this is an example of something that has become mainstream. So last time, closed captions were only seen as something that's only created and designed for people with hearing loss. But now closed captions is available to everyone. So that's what we are trying to do with hearing aids. Okay? Okay. So we're actually living in a time where Bluetooth earphones is very trendy right now. Now you walk down the street, you take an MRT or bus ride, you will see all these, like, especially all the young people, they all have something in their ear. Okay? Those are Bluetooth earphones. Okay? Hearing aids are actually very similar to Bluetooth earphones, except that they are a lot more powerful, they are a lot more sophisticated, a lot more complex, and they cater specifically to people with hearing loss. Okay? So what if we could merge hearing aids and earphone technology together, and what would happen? So a lot of people actually don't know right now is that if you walk down the street, you actually cannot tell who is wearing a hearing aid. Okay? Because many times, and right now, hearing aids and Bluetooth earphones have grown to look so similar that no one knows what they're wearing. So if you can see on my ear here today, can you guess whether I'm wearing a hearing aid or a earphone?
Earphone.
Looks like earphone, right? But this is a hearing aid. Okay. So the hearing aid that I am wearing is a very cool piece of technology. It only came out like 2 weeks ago in the Singapore market. I have not tried it. I have not fitted it on anyone yet. I'm still test running it. But basically, this is a hearing aid. It's called Customs by GN Resound. It has what we call a hearing aid technology that has Bluetooth earphone technology embedded into it. So it's quite cool, and the cool thing about GN Resound is that they've started to collaborate with Jabra. Okay? Jabra is a very famous audio company. They themselves have also, they've also followed in the steps of the hearing aid company. They themselves have also decided to put hearing aid technology into their earphones. So very soon on the market, you won't know who's wearing a hearing aid, who's wearing a earphone. Okay? And what we realize is that if we continue in these steps, when we merge hearing aid technology and wireless Bluetooth technology, it makes people with hearing loss more accepting of hearing aids. It also makes people with no hearing loss more accepting of people with hearing loss. Okay? So I've spoken to you how we as an industry are trying to normalize wearing hearing aids. Now I would like to talk about how we are trying to tackle permanent hearing loss. Okay, so what if I told you that a person born with no ears can actually hear? It sounds impossible, right? But actually, it is possible. Okay, so that is because hearing is more complex than you think. Hearing actually occurs in the brain. So a lot of people don't know this. The brain is the main instrument that processes and helps us make sense of sound. The ears, the things you see here, they are merely tools to deliver sounds to the brain. Okay, so I'll just quickly explain to you how hearing works. Okay, so this is the human ear. Okay, so human ear, I think Anjali has already explained it earlier, so I'll do a very quick explanation. Human ear consists of outer ear, middle ear, inner ear. Outer ear is the earlobe you see here, and when people, they like to put put the finger in the ear to dig their ear, that's called the ear canal. That is the outer ear. Middle ear consists of the eardrum, and in the inner ear, you will see the cochlea or the hearing organ. That is the little very important piece of organ that helps you really hear. Okay, so how do we hear? Our ears pick up sounds which travel across our ears. Travel all the way to the little cochlea here. And inside the little cochlea, there are little hair cells, okay? Every time sounds hit the hair cells will vibrate. Every time the hair cells vibrate, it will generate electrical impulses. These impulses will actually send signals all the way through our nerve to the brain, and that's how we hear. So what happens is sometimes things happen. Maybe there's trauma, maybe there's noise exposure, maybe you fall sick. And the hair cells in the cochlea get too damaged. So if it gets a bit too damaged, these hair cells are not able to generate a strong enough impulse to send signals up to the brain. And hence, the person will get hearing loss. So a cochlear implant is basically a very small, very complex little bit of a machine. It replaces all the functions of the hair cells. Just one small electrode go all the way in. So when sounds comes into the ear, it will stimulate. It will stimulate the nerves and it will send the signal up to the brain. And that's how someone who is born with no ears can hear. Okay? So cochlear implants have actually been around for a very long time. It's actually been around for 61 years. Okay? But they had to undergo many redesigning and a lot of research. And that was only in 1978 where you get the modern day multi-channel implant. Okay? And if you didn't already know, cochlear implant is actually said to be one of the top 10 most significant medical interventions in the world. The cochlear implant is really able to drastically change a person's life. Okay? So a cochlear implant is actually very safe. I think most of the surgeries we know is like 2 hours or less. And it does provide clearer hearing to those who fit the criteria. And normally we have parents or parents of children with hearing loss or people who are much older. They come to me and ask, can I have a cochlear implant? I can tell you right now, one of the youngest patients to ever have a cochlear implant is 3 months old. The oldest I think is about 97. Wow. So there is no age limit to getting a cochlear implant. Okay, and so these are some of the products you see here for the Cochlear brand. Cochlear is actually the #1 cochlear brand across the world. So if you have any questions about the products, do feel free to ask the audiologist. We have all the cochlear implant audiologists here today to answer your questions. Okay. So I've explained to you how we are trying to normalize hearing aids. I've explained to you how we as an industry are trying to tackle permanent hearing loss with cochlear implants. But my main message to you here today is that many people actually think that us in the hearing aid industry do not have sufficient technology to fit their needs. They're always asking me, what's new? What's new? What is better for me? The truth is, technology has changed. It is more than enough to suit people's needs, but people's mindsets have stayed the same. And what I realized this when I was young, I realized this even right now today, is that it is actually mostly people, not technology, that's stopping them from fixing hearing loss. Yeah. Thank you for coming here today. I'm done. Okay, over to Naomi.
Thank you, Chermaine. Before we move on to Naomi, who will talk a little bit more and do some fun exercises. This is fun school, remember? We started off saying that. So she's going to make some fun activities with you. But do you have any top of the line questions right now? There we go.
Thank you. I'm just wondering because when you first introduced the merger of Resound and Jabra technology, besides I see as the aesthetic aspect of how technology have helped people with hearing difficulties to make it make it more receptive for people who are not having hearing issue? How? Because nowadays